the basic employment relationship itself between workers and employers has broken apart. I think of at least the model of employment we've traditionally had in many parts of our economy was with a single employer and the workforce, almost like a rock. And the idea of the fissured workplace is what has happened is that that rock has splintered apart. And that fissuring in employment relationships, and in the fact that you have at many workplaces across the economy, multiple people, multiple organizations that have a piece of the employment relationship. The reason and the place it started to occur, I think, in a lot of industries is partly from increasing capital market pressures on a lot of businesses in our economy. And that had a couple of important repercussions that ultimately led to fissured workplaces. One is really a demand that companies focus on first principles, or what's often called in the business school world core competence, that a company had to sort of define itself around a set of things that it was both excellent at and that investors would be willing to reward. The second thing that started to happen, again, driven I think in a very important way by capital market pressures, was a desire to shed employment. One can think of a company like Apple, which basically has no internal manufacturing capacity and a vast international supply chain. It needs to have very tight standards to make sure when someone gets an iPhone, it looks and works and operates and has the quality standards of an iPhone. And a lot of the pressure to reduce cost is shifted to these other companies, sometimes very small companies, operating in what I think of as outer orbits from the lead business that's really driving the overall activity. And the core problem of fissuring is that no one is bringing those costs into their own consideration of how they're structuring these relationships. And in particular, things like compliance with workplace laws or the kinds of benefits that they either are going to provide or that they expect other people to provide, subsequent layers of these organizations, are left open. And as a result of that, the costs often, the burdens of workplace risks, compliance with labor standards, and creating positive workplace environments are shifted out. And since no one wants to own those risks, you get all kinds of problems. It's really what I think of as rebalancing, is to say to lead companies, it's great that all these benefits accrue from your business strategy. I teach at a business school, so it's not that I'm against the idea of core competence. It's really about the fact that we want you to also keep in that balance, and you're responsible for a piece of what happens in that larger network. Fairness is a very basic kind of human idea and behavior. And there's a lot of recent economic research that shows that people care a lot about whether they perceive they're being treated fairly. And the way we often figure that out is we look at how other people around us are being treated. So historically, when you had large companies with the walls bounding everyone, let's say in an auto manufacturer, from the people doing white-collar work to the people who were on the auto assembly line, to the people who were doing janitorial work and maybe even doing the landscaping around a plant, all under the same umbrella, the desire, the need for fairness had an effect, that the wages of everyone in that system were kind of brought up. When you shed employment, and you suddenly say, you're no longer my janitor, but I am hiring a janitorial service provider that will provide these services. And so I am paying a price for a service rather than a wage for a labor activity. That whole fairness dynamic changes dramatically with real repercussions on the overall inequality we see in our economy.